Hello, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Woman of Inspiration. And this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Today, we have a very special guest, Ashley Ottensen. She is one of our Woman of Inspiration finalists and also a TikTok influencer. Actually, YouTube, TikTok, Ashley, fill us in on everything and how you started. But Ashley, and I loved your package. You described yourself as a born hustler, mother, and entertainer. So I'm super excited to be chatting with you today. You've built quite a following in such a short amount of time. And everybody is, when we look at the success of women that have achieved greatness on their own terms, you set the bar for that. So Ashley, so excited to chat with you today. Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We talked in the green room about where to begin. And where I would love to start with you today, Ashley, and I know that you're calling in from New York City, but I'd like to start with, how did you get into this role where you're a social media influencer and really using your voice to carve and sort of build out your own resume as an actor?
It all started during 2020 with COVID. At that time, all of the projects that I was in, the films, the plays, they were all shut down. And I've never really been one to sit. And so they forced me to have to sit for several months, and I was going stir crazy. And my sister, she is Gen Z, and was telling me all about the TikTok. And I was like, what is this? And she showed me, and at first I was hesitant because all the videos that were there were dancing videos. And I do not consider myself a dancer. And I was like, I don't think I fit in on this app. And it was actually my sister who reassured me, and she's like, "No, you can do whatever you want. That's just people just like to dance on there." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna do my acting thing because I'm really bored at home and I need something to do." So that's how it all started. I started specifically doing comedy because I personally felt that I wasn't very good at it and I wanted to get better. And it is a safe place to fail, I think, online, because there's really not a huge financial strain. Like if you mess up or the movie does terribly, you don't have to worry about box office to try to get back everything that you lost. Because I'm just at home. I have a camera on my phone and eventually upgraded to like a better camera, better visuals, better story making. So it's honestly, it started off as something super simple, and then it just, as I gained more confidence, became better to more to what it is today.
So you've simplified it, but I love what you've said this, and I want to go back to that. But you said that social media is really a safe place to fail. And I would have never thought that to be the truth. So maybe tell me a little bit more about why you think that's such a safe place to fail. Because I get a little bit, I mean, I'm very comfortable in front of the camera, but still, I will record something that I'm putting out like probably 50 times sometimes. Like very rarely is it like a one shot deal and I'm like rolling it out there unless I have zero time and I need to get it out. But um tell me about that because I really love that philosophy where it's a safe place to fail.
When I think of it that way, I think more of the financial aspect of things. Because as an actor, more so, your failures cost you dearly financially, right? And so with social media, when you're just at home and you're a one woman production team, you're the camera operator, the actor, the writer, the lighting designer, the editor. You don't have to pay any of those people because they're yourself. And it's also really nice to have some trial and error because you could do something that you think, I like there are some skits that I have done that I thought maybe we can expand this into a series for the future when things open back up for a feature film, and just write something longer about that. So I figured, why don't we take this little skit and try it out with an audience just to see what they think about it. And there are some skits that totally tanked and they're just like, yeah, this isn't, we're not feeling it. And I'm like, cool. I just got some feedback that that idea, that vein isn't going to be appealing for a larger audience. Whereas there's other skits that are doing incredibly well. And so now a friend of mine and I together are expanding that to later pitch to become a television series. So it's a really, honestly, I know some people will probably disagree with me saying that it's safe because the commenters can be kind of mean. So you do need to have a thick skin about it. But in reality, it's a really great place to experiment with your ideas and to be okay with some critique and to tweak things and to change things and to be flexible.
Hmm. So tell me that first, I mean, this is the hardest part is, that fear of, failure and being uncomfortable in that kind of space. And I'm sure you know what that felt like that very first time that you did your very first, was it a TikTok or was it a YouTube video that you did first?
My very first creative venture was a TikTok.
Mm.
And I was incredibly nervous because I wanted everyone to like me. That little baby people pleaser grew up to be an adult people pleaser who is currently trying to amend that and try to, find love within herself and love with what she does. But yeah, at the beginning it was really scary.
Mm.
And I put off starting it for a couple of weeks because I was so scared. And a realization dawned on me that if you don't face your fear, you'll never progress. And I absolutely hated the idea of being stagnant. So I was like, okay, if they hate it, they hate it, but we're going to put it out there. And it actually did fairly well that first video. And so you get a little bit of a dopamine rush. It's like, oh, they like me. But so you keep going until you have a video and suddenly nobody likes it. And then you have to reason with yourself and be like, well, I like it. So I'm going to keep going rather than letting that derail you and keep you from continuing forward. Because success, everybody thinks success is just an upward trajectory, when in actuality, it's peaks and valleys. And sometimes your valleys are really, really deep, and you think maybe you're going backwards a little bit, but you just need to stay the course because eventually a huge mountain of a peak will come. And that came with one of my most viral videos. I had a video go incredibly viral. And this was after a long period of not really getting a whole lot of views. And I was thinking maybe I should quit. I was like, no, I'll keep doing this. And I'm glad that I did because now I have 1.2 million followers on Instagram. And whereas before I had maybe one or 2,000, and it grew really quickly because of that one viral video. So just stick with it. Don't doubt yourself. You want to doubt your doubts before you doubt yourself. If
Mm.
um if something doesn't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough.
Yes. Yes, that is the best quote in the entire world. I swear that's me every day.
Hmm.
Every single day. Right. And so
Yeah.
what I'd love to know is what was that viral video? Did you have any that was early on in your sort of trying to figure out what your voice was? What was that video that went viral?
So it was a just a silly shower thought type video. I constantly would think to myself, just my brain just wanders like, why do our bodies do these things? Why is the sky blue? Like why is the like, just some of these really dumb questions. And so I just framed it in a way where it was a conversation with myself where I was talking through these really weird things. And it was relatable to people because with the advent of the internet, you realize how you are not alone in your thinking. There are a lot of people who think the way that you do. And because it was so relatable, there was a lot of engagement and it grew from there. And then a lot of people stayed, not because of that one video, but because they liked how I did my work, because I don't do everything just like that one video. I have a lot of different things that I like to do. And so they're like, oh, I liked you for this, but now I see that you do this and I like this as well. And so, and yeah, it was a really, still is a really humbling thing to realize that I have affected so many people in such a way.
Mm. Well, what I love about that is that you're sharing that with everyone. Even sharing this experience really empowers other people to take that step, because it really is. I know that you're very brave about being on social media, but there's a lot of people that actually are like, nope, I don't want anything on social media. I like my animosity. Am I, that word didn't come out right, but
Anonymity.
anonymity. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
I don't record. I don't delete anything. So this is me like unfiltered, but and sometimes my words kind of get out way too fast before my thinking. Um but there's a lot of people that have some, whether it's self-doubt or they lack confidence. I actually look at social media as a way that we can build our confidence. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree. Um, to a point. Yeah, because you do got to realize. So it got to the point, there was a really dark period of the social media where there were a lot of negative comments, like more so than usual. And it started to really get to me and to get in my head thinking, oh, maybe I'm not doing well. Maybe all these people lied to me. And it's really easy to hyper focus on the very small, minute negativity in the comments
Mhm.
versus the plethora of positivity that you get. I don't know why the human brain, or maybe it's just my brain, is wired that way, where you really get bogged down on that one little thing and you need to fix it. Um, but if you're able to move past that, and I truly agree that you can gain confidence with putting yourself out there. You like if you go back and you look at one of my earlier videos compared to how it is now, you can see the change in just like the production quality, my own confidence level. You can see that, and it's actually, I'm really grateful to it. This is my husband walking in the
Hello,
background.
husband.
Because especially as an actor, being able to get that direct feedback and have confidence in myself is going to help me further in my career in that regard outside of social media, because you need to have confidence in yourself, in your own career, in your daily life. Because I mean, if you don't, this is hard for me to talk about as somebody who has low self-esteem, that I still fight to this day, and it is, it's something that you recognize, right? But what's important is not letting those things keep you from your own potential. And social media can be a positive if you let it.
Mm. It's so authentic that you say that you're still struggling with, kind of self-esteem, because I think there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome in all of us. And it's just when we step out into those, uncomfortable zones that we have never done before, you know, are we going to succeed? Are we going to fail? It's the unknown that we're most, kind of nervous of, is because it's so unknown. We haven't been there. We're still
Mhm.
learning and trying. And I think that's something that we can all relate to at some level. So that's very refreshing, that, especially when you have so many followers and you're always out there, right? That you can
Yeah.
say, you know what, even I have, some, feelings of, am I good enough? Am I worthy? And, like being worthy and seeking and wanting to be valued, right? I think that that's so important, is we as humans are wired. We just want to be valued for our contribution, period. Acknowledged.
Yeah, 100%.
So I know that you are an actor, and I just want to do a shout out that you're a two-time best actress, recipient of your role in Becca in A Love Not Lost, which is an indie short film written by John Anthony. So, how has social media and the stage that you created to take control of your career, how has that helped you sort of build out and be seen and separate yourself from the others?
My mentor, Glenn Morshower, um, always said that the worst thing that an actor could be is a secret,
Mm,
because you want people to know your work so that you can continue to tell stories. If nobody knows who you are, then it'll be harder, not less likely, but definitely harder for you to be recognized by casting and then therefore offered positions in series or feature films. And so with building up the social media, a lot of people will say, ah, it's not important, but it is kind of important because it can be free marketing for these films, right? As well as viewership. When they see that there are people who watch you and like you, then they know that there's that at least that many people who will come watch the film, who will
mm,
then garner like box office revenue, which is what everybody wants in Hollywood is the box office revenue. And so just by taking that chance to grow the social media and to just try to put my name out there, Glenn even told me the other day, he was joking, he's far more successful than I am as an actor. And he was making a joke how with a group of his peers how he knew me and they were freaking out. They're just like, oh, you know her, we like her work. And he's just like, isn't that funny? I was like, Glenn, stop. And so yeah, it's really important to try, if especially if you want to be an actor, to not hide yourself. You need to be bold. You need to put yourself out there. And I know some people might think, oh, you're being a little bit conceited or you're like yourself too much because you're constantly on camera. It's like, no, it's just I want to tell stories. And the more people see my face, the more likely they will allow me the space to tell these stories that I have been wanting to share.
mm. See, and this is something that I would like to talk about too. And it's just like stepping into the spotlight. Like Woman of Inspiration Awards, we celebrate the achievements of women who lead, inspire, and motivate. But can I tell you, one of the hardest things for most women to do is to step into the spotlight. Why? Because they think it's all about ego. And I want to just say, nope, it's not about ego. It's about opportunity to be heard, to be valued, to be a role model for the next generation of women and show what is possible. Like it's it's not as it's almost selfless, like, because you have to get through those barriers of, first fighting the fear and being courageous of actually doing it, being consistent. Like it's a lot of work to actually be consistent and successful and do work, and good work and put content out on social media. It's a full-time job,
It is.
really.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so, I'm glad that you shed a little bit of a light into that, because I think it's an important conversation for us to have, that it is not about the ego. It's if we can't show what is possible, others can't either. Simple as that.
Yeah,
And
I wholly agree. If men can do it without feeling guilty, we can do it too. Right. It's I think it's a societal thing. Women have traditionally been the supportive characters in life, and we're not support characters. We're main characters just as much as men are. And it is okay. We have the permission to take those leading roles and be in those leading roles and not feel like we're I guess lack for a better word, a bitch. Like some people try to label women in leadership positions as either difficult or hard to be around,
Mm,
egotistical, like there's those labels. And but the thing is we know who we are. We know who we are. And other people around us could label us and try to say those things, try to stick. There's one of my favorite stories. I'm forgetting the title at this moment because that's how my brain works. It's about dots and stars, and it's a bunch of these wooden characters that are created by this one creator, and they go around and they give each other a dot or a star. Dot is like, we don't like this thing that you did, or it's like a mean thing. And the stars are like, oh, you're fantastic, you're talented, and they stick to them. And there's this one character in the story who only has dots and is feeling super down constantly. But it's when she realizes her self-worth that none of those stickers stick to her anymore. They all fall off. And she is confident within herself. And I've always loved that story because we can allow what other people say about us to stick to us, or we cannot. We can brush that off because we know who we are.
mm. That's a great story. I really love that. Let's
I
aim for
wish I remembered the title. I
let's aim for those stickers to fall off us. Let's deflect the stickers.
Yeah, we
You know,
don't need
like,
we don't need those labels. We don't need validation from other people. We don't need to hold on to the negativity or believe that the negative things that people say about us are true.
mm.
We just need to hold on to the value within ourselves and realize that we are strong, capable, unique, and wonderful individuals.
And you know what's so interesting, Ashley, is the fact that you're in a leadership role. I mean, you have, 1.2 million followers on Instagram. And I mean, that's just one platform, just saying. But people look to you and go, she's got it all figured out. She knows exactly what she's doing. They may comment, like hopefully it's great comments and propping you up, but it's really interesting to watch a woman in a leadership role that is confident and continue to, like ignore the naysayers. And so how do you, I guess I want to find out from you, how do you ignore those naysayers? How do you deflect those negative comments? Those one or two that you might get. Like, how do you do you block them?
No, I haven't gone to that extreme. Only, well, there have been a couple that have been particularly rude, but not to me. They've been rude to other commenters, and so I'll block them. I don't know. It's like I feel like I can take it if somebody says it about me, but if you try to say it to somebody else, I don't tolerate that. Um, but it's also gotten to the point that I'm unable to really keep up with the comments as often, so I'm not reading them as much as I used to. But it has been incredibly helpful to have a support her as a husband. Okay. He is my rock.
Mm.
He is somebody that knows me for me and reminds me sometimes when I'm starting to let those dots stick to me. When they're starting to stick, he reminds me. I'm gonna get teary because he's the greatest thing in my life. I always tell him, I was like, if I've had no other success in life, I know that I will have lived a good life because I have you.
I
So
am getting tearful because that, Ashley, is the most beautiful thing in the entire world. And that is why I'm I'm getting teary, like really teary here. That is why it is so important that we acknowledge our allies because they play such a significant role. I mean, there is men that will go to the ends of the earth to try and pull us down, but there are humans also that are trying to push us forward and want us to succeed. And I love the fact that you are paying props to your support her. And we call our support hers our allies or men that are champions for women in our networks, our workplaces and communities. And man, I have been on this rampage for like the past 5 years. And now that is actually how we're really evolving the Universal Women's Network is we want to truly be more of those leaders to the table to set the bar for others, whether it's leading companies, communities, at home. So I really love the fact that you've said that because as women and I'd like to talk about that a little bit. There's such a, and you talked about the words, a bitch, being ambitious or tenacious, how, we're, kind of, for being ambitious, we could be called a bitch, or, if we're driven, it's a bad word. But we're also very, very trained that we do it all alone.
We
She
are.
is leading, and she's fierce, and she's ambitious, and she's driving it, and she's doing it all alone. But the reality is we are not doing it alone. And, I really want to talk more about the support network that we have around us, our allies that we have around us. Like, this whole thing, they can't do what they do to succeed without the support of a female, another partner in the world. We can't do that either, right? I mean, we can, but it's damn hard.
It is
So I
very
just,
hard.
it's very hard. Like, we need support, and it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Let's
It is
normalize that.
my personal belief that nobody should ever be alone. And like this is not just in regards for like romantic relationships. This is just in general. Nobody should ever be alone. We're not built. We were not born. Our humanity, our biological makeup is not meant to be alone. We are a group species. We are a group animal meant to be in herds, And it is definitely just a societal thing. It's difficult as women to ask for help because we were always shot down if we did, or told we were lazy or we didn't try hard enough. And so then we're like, okay, fine, then I'll do it all myself, and then we work ourselves to death and we get sick, and or we get super depressed or frustrated. And so it is a big step. It is a huge step to realize that yes, you are capable, and you are not less than because you asked for help.
Absolutely. And that, as I think the message that we need to talk more about, is just because I'm asking for help doesn't mean I'm not strong, doesn't mean I'm not capable, doesn't mean I can't do it, but I'm going to work smarter, not harder. And knowing that we can move mountains, and embrace the diversity of our male counterparts, right? It's so important. Anyways,
Absolutely.
that is why we chose to have Bobby Brown, and as well as
I love
her
her.
husband, on stage. We wanted to make sure that we showcase a rock star female, just who has, carved her space in a very competitive industry. But she's the first one to say that I didn't do it alone. And it's because I had the support of my husband that enabled me to do it. And I think that is so real. I think we need more of those conversations to happen. So thank you, Ashley, for sharing that, because I'm sure if your husband's listening to this afterwards, he'll be able to say, you know what? I I mean, do you tell him that?
Oh, I tell him all the time.
Okay. Okay, good.
He
Is
knows.
there Okay, well, that's good. And I think the more times that we can reinforce it, or even that your kids can hear that, it sets such a good example, and it empowers others to do the same. So I really love that. Now, I do want to get back to the support her piece. As you know, it's really big for us. Tell us about some of the other support hers. Like, what is that role? Or tell us about some other support hers in your world that have helped you succeed.
Yeah, I have a lot. I am very grateful to have very many support hers. My father-in-law, when I was starting my social media journey, he noticed, he's like, your skits are really good, but your image quality is a little lacking. And he actually funded and bought me my very first DSLR camera so that I had better image quality for when I made my videos. And in turn, better image quality for when I did my self-tape auditions. And I've had people message me back and just be like, wow, your audition looks amazing. And I was like, this is my father-in-law. He facilitated that. And he also because when I first started, my husband was a postgraduate student at Parker University for chiropractic, and so we weren't super well off financially at the time. So he helped me financially with editing software, with anything that I needed, because he believed in me. and he believed that I could do it. And so he invested in me. And my mentor, who I mentioned before, Glenn Morshower, is a constant support her for me emotionally. Because as an actor, you can get in your head sometimes, just be like, am I good enough? It's been several years. I haven't been called back, just all of these things that make the acting industry so difficult. And he reminds me every week, he's just like, you're good enough, Ashley. You keep going. Like, don't quit. And it's that small, simple sentence that has kept me not pursuing, it's not the proper word, driving for this career until eventually it gets to what I want it to be. It's not quite where I want it to be yet. Social media, I feel like I've got that part. Moving on to the acting industry is not quite where I want to be yet, and that's okay. I'm still in that journey. I'm still driving for it, and each step I feel I am going in the right direction. And it's just and also like my friends who, because before I was a pre-med major, and so when I changed my major to acting, and I decided to put all my eggs in one basket, um, my best friend's parents, she doesn't know. I never told her because they
Oh,
asked me
she's
not
going to
to
be
tell her.
listening to this.
So I don't know if I think it's been several years now, so it might be safe. They because funding, my dad stopped helping me pay for college when that happened, because he didn't feel like it was a worthwhile career choice. But my best friend's parents, they stepped in and they helped me pay for a tuition of college, a semester of college tuition, until I could get back under my feet and be able to pay for it myself. And I was able to graduate without any debt for my undergraduate because of their help. And so I've had financial, I've had emotional, I've had support from so many people, because it honestly, for anyone to have success, it takes a community.
Mm,
It takes people lifting each other up. And in turn, what we should strive to do as we are being lifted up is reaching back and lift them up as well with us. We
mm,
don't want to leave our supporters behind. We don't want to leave anybody in our community behind. We want to try our best to lift them up however much we can in whatever way possible.
beautifully said. And I think that, what we've created with the Woman of Inspiration and the Woman of Inspiration Awards is women that truly do want others to succeed. And I think that you've sort of witnessed that, where you get on and they're like, congratulations, we're looking forward to meeting you. And they've never met you before, but they're happy for you and they're genuinely happy and they feel joy for you. And it's like in the room, it's when you get into that room, Ashley, I think once you'll find that it's almost like an energy. And if we could bottle that energy, we'd be billionaires, by the way. But there's an energy in the room where you can walk in and not know a soul in the room, but you will leave so connected and so inspired that you're going to want to go out and create something. You're going to want to, you know, take that idea that you had and blast it off into the world, just because you feel empowered to do that, because you've seen other people come through adversity or push through the barriers and they've succeeded. It's so cool. So I love that you say that and you lift others up. Like I've always said, when you celebrate the achievements of one woman, you celebrate the achievements of all women. And so that's a pretty special thing that I think is not out there a lot. I have a lot of supporters in my world. I have a lot of women cheerleaders in my world, but typically, we've heard the other side of the coin where women aren't championing for each other, right? And it's a fierce competition. That doesn't work for us, right? It's shared
Yeah.
values and let's lift each other up. All boats will rise when that happens.
Yeah.
Very
Jealousy
cool.
never has a place at the table.
No.
Never has a place. Jealousy never has a place. And that's always something that we try to champion, like as in my acting community, is when somebody, maybe you're going up for the same role as somebody else and that other person gets it, instead of being like, oh, cool, great, congrats, you're actually super happy for them
Super happy.
because you know how difficult it is to get that job. So they went through just as much difficulty as you did. And this was their shining moment. Yours will come later.
Mm.
You don't need to dim someone else's light to make yourself feel brighter.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You are definitely why you are a woman of inspiration, Ashley, because you have it all figured out. You sound like
Oh,
you
I
have it all
wouldn't say
figured out.
that. I wouldn't say that. I just try my best every day. That's all we can really hope for.
So let's get back to I have a couple more questions, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. So thank you so much for taking this time to speak with me today. Um, Celebrating the achievements of women. Why is that so darn important, Ashley?
That's a really great question. I honestly think it's because only celebrating half of the population and negating the other half does not make for a healthy society. It creates animosity and darkness. And honestly, if you don't recognize the efforts of women, what are we even doing? Like what's the point? Because they say behind every successful man is a successful woman, because we need to come out of those shadows, right? We need to be okay with stepping out from behind the men and realize, just like, actually, he's successful because of me, and I did all these things too. And rather than negate his success, let's share in this success. And
Mm,
so it's very important to recognize women for what they do, because that is how we can create harmony in our society. That's how we can create better unity
mm,
with each other, and more happiness. There's a lot of unhappiness in this world, and I think it's because so many people are going unrecognized for all the hard work that they do. And
mm.
so just taking a moment and recognizing them, it helps so much. It's like what you were saying in the room. If you bottle that stuff, we'd be billionaires, right? That's that feeling, that energy that creates a healthy, functioning society.
Mm. So let me ask you something. How does it feel, number one, to be nominated as a woman of inspiration? And then actually be, celebrated as a finalist and come to the awards and, sort of see the path and all of your hard work. Somebody saying, I see you, I value you, and be recognized as a woman of inspiration. How does that feel?
When Patty first told me that she nominated me, I was floored. I was that, that little negative monster in the back of your mind saying, you don't deserve this, you didn't do this enough, that reared its head a little bit. But then when she told me, she's just like, I find you incredibly inspiring. I cried.
Mm,
I did. I cried because it had been at that time maybe a year and a half, 2 years, 2 years of doing social media, and growing, gaining the following, but just having that recognition from Patty, who is a very successful woman in her own right, say that she found me inspiring, was so humbling and so validating. And it made me feel so good. It made me feel so good. And to the point where I wanted to like share it with other people and just be like, you're awesome and you're awesome. Just spread it around, because when you feel the joy, you want to give joy. And so I'm incredibly humbled and grateful and thankful.
And so I'm looking forward to the journey ahead. And of course, you are absolutely 100% on the right track. It's like women of inspiration, we hype other women. That's what we do. We want to bring each other up. We want to celebrate each other's successes. And we want to do that alongside and together with our partners or support hers. So again, a shout out to Patricia because she's an incredible human herself. She's actually Woman of Inspiration, Lifetime Award recipient. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing her, and she's been in our world for a very long time, ever since she became a Woman of Inspiration. So I know that she's a big champion. Let's just say
She's
she's one of the
amazing.
biggest champions I know.
She's
Um,
amazing.
Super amazing woman. So before we wrap up here, I know that we've talked about celebrating the achievements of women. We've talked about our support hers. We've talked about your career path and your success. Where do where do you see Ashley in the next 5 years? What is it that you want to achieve?
In the next 5 years. That's always the money
Okay, let's
question.
even go. Let's 3 years. Let's or even like 2 years. Like what what do you want to achieve in the short term?
Well, in the short term, I really want to see my kids thrive in something that they enjoy. That's my kids are my number one. My son has started hockey, and just seeing the joy on his face trying that and starting to get good at it was probably the greatest thing I ever experienced as a parent, just seeing my son find something that he loves. And the next thing is I want to have finished my feature film that I'm currently writing and have it started in development, hopefully in the next 2 years. Because it does take a minute. It takes a minute. Some people don't realize how long it takes for a TV show to, finally come out there. Sometimes it takes 5 years, 2 to 5, like several years. And so I'm hoping to have at least started that process for bigger things, venturing outside of social media and into the bigger realm of entertainment.
Very cool. So, how can anybody find out a little bit more about the work that you're doing and follow you? If they're not following you already, how can they learn more about you, Ashley?
Well, you can always follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Ashley Ottensen, with the underscore because somebody else took Ashley Ottensen without the underscore. And you would think I didn't think my name was very common, but turns out in Denmark it is. Um, and I post updates there a lot about what I'm doing, and often like there's the Demon Nanny series that's been going around that everybody loves. It's just a taste of what my friend, who is another support her, Chris Barnett, and I have been co-writing together to eventually work up to pitching as a series. So all of my little skits could eventually turn into something bigger. So yeah, my Instagram would probably be the best place to go.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to seeing what is on the horizon for you in the future. And based on what you've accomplished so far in such a short period of time and your insight, I have no, like I'm excited for you is what I'm going to say. I'm excited because it appears that you're very much on path. So I'm going to wrap up 2 more questions. What advice would you give to other leaders that want to step outside of their comfort zone and maybe try TikTok? Like I gotta say, I danced a little bit, didn't work for me either. But how do you find your own voice, and what advice would you give to others as they sort of carve their own voice or space on TikTok?
Be okay with trial and error. Be okay with trying a bunch of different things and be okay sucking at it. You need to be okay with not being good at something until you can get good at that thing.
Mm,
It took me a minute to figure out where I wanted to do what exactly I wanted to do with the social media thing and being consistent. Those are the two main things.
mm,
Be okay with the process and stay consistent with it. And you will, I promise you, see success in that thing if you want it enough.
beautiful. I love it. And we always end up our Woman of Inspiration podcast with what is your definition of a woman of inspiration, Ashley?
Someone who cares about others' success just as much as her own. someone with empathy.
Drop the microphone. She's out of here. She gone. Beautiful. That was so lovely. Thank you so much, Ashley, for taking this time. I am so looking forward to meeting you in person very soon. And we're going to blast this out. We want to share your awesomeness. And of course, listeners of the Woman of Inspiration podcast, if you enjoy this episode, I encourage you to share it widely. Plan on being in the room for Women of Inspiration. Join us in Toronto on April the 4th, because literally you could bottle that energy in the room and be surrounded by some incredible leaders just like yourself. So Ashley, such a pleasure. And I am looking forward to the epic journey ahead. Thank you for joining us today on the Woman of Inspiration podcast.
Thank you for having me.